Hi, Dr. Tim Weeks here, and I need to talk to you about air, the air we breathe. Unfortunately, modern air quality is deplorable. Cars are spewing forest pollution, industry, but one of the worst things that most of us never think about is the inside of our homes. The inside of our homes, unfortunately, often have very poor air quality. And they're showing that as houses become more energy efficient, the air quality is dropping even further. And with that, the oxygen levels within the house. So throughout history, the oxygen saturation throughout the atmosphere and the environment was around 35%. Now, unfortunately, it's dropped over the centuries. And in some cities and in some modern homes, the oxygen concentration has dropped as low as 11%. If you're breathing 11% oxygenated, polluted air, you're going to feel terrible. And so there's two solutions to this that we have found. The first is don't use any chemicals that you don't have to in your house. We see all these commercials about these cleaning products and these fragrances and these Glade plugins. Avoid them all as much as you're able. If you're going to clean with natural ingredients, vinegar and water. And then the second step is to get more oxygen in your living space. So if you live in a place where there's a winter, like I do, or if you're living inside a house, and especially if you're living inside a house during winter with other people, the oxygen levels are probably pretty low in your house. NASA did a study on this, and they called it the Clean Air Study. And so what they found is that of all the things that they could find, the best way to have clean oxygenated air in the house is with houseplants. And this should make so much sense. We know that houseplants have the ability to turn carbon dioxide into oxygen, but they also have the ability to clean the air. And so there's 3 houseplants that they have found that if you incorporate these in your home, you can completely clean and oxygenate the air. They found that these 3 plants are so effective that if your house was in a bubble where no oxygen was coming in, these 3 plants would provide enough oxygen and clean the air enough that you'd be completely fine. So the 3 plants are these. Number 1, the Erect Palm. This plant is a large palm-looking tree, and it's really efficient in converting carbon dioxide back into oxygen. These plants grow really well in filtered light, but need to be watered often. The second plant is something called the snake plant. The snake plant is often called the bedroom plant because it's really efficient at producing oxygen at night. This plant does well in full or filtered light, and it does not need to be watered often. And the third plant is something called the money plant. This is a really pretty plant and one of my favorites. This plant has been shown by NASA to remove the chemicals and many of the other pollutants in the home. This plant does well in filtered light with light watering. The one thing you have to remember about the money plant is it's toxic to animals and to children, so you need to keep those one off the ground. In the NASA Clean Air Study, they found that if you have 1 plant for every 100 square feet of living space, it will efficiently clean your house. So if you live in 1,000 square feet, you're going to want to have 10 plants, maybe 2 or 3 of each one. Okay, so the first step, as I mentioned, is we don't use chemicals. The second step is we oxygenate our environment with plants. And the third step is learning how to breathe. One of the biggest problems that I find in patients when they come to me is that their diaphragms and their abdomens are completely frozen. Most of us should be breathing deeply through our tummies, but unfortunately many of us are not breathing from our nose to our tummy, but we're breathing from our mouth to our upper chest. So the test that I have people do is to put 1 hand on their tummy, 1 hand on their chest, and take a breath in. And so when I ask people to do that, a lot of people go like this, and only their chest rises. What should happen is your tummy should come up. And so what I found is that there's 3 things that you can do to free up your diaphragm so that you can breathe easily. And so I'll show you the 3 exercises right now. The first one is you should be able to lay on your back and put a heavy book on your stomach. And when you breathe in, the book should come up and down like this. You want to try to make the book rise as much up when you breathe in and drop down when you breathe out. Doing this exercise for about 10 minutes a day is an amazing way of freeing up your diaphragm. Now you're going to feel some tightness and you're going to feel some restriction, and it's important to try to push through that. You're not going to hurt yourself. The second exercise, after you've done that one, you can do in the seated position. And so for the second exercise, what we do is we take a deep breath in all the way, and then while holding that breath in, push our stomachs out as much as we can and straighten our back. So it looks like this. Hold the breath in for about 20 seconds. Do this for 10 repetitions. And what you'll feel again is you're going to feel just areas of pulling. A lot of times people feel the pulling through their liver or their lungs. A lot of times people feel it through their upper back. And by pushing through these restrictions, you're going to open up your diaphragm and be able to breathe deeper all the time. The last one is a really amazing stretch, and I warn you to be careful with this one because it can make you feel lightheaded. It's a way of really opening up the diaphragm, and so it looks like this. What you do is you get into a downward dog position, so basically this position. And while in this position, you take a couple deep breaths in, as deep as you can. And then maybe the 10th breath, you take a deep breath in, as deep as you can. You hold that breath in. And while holding the breath in, you go into what's called the upward dog position. And you hold that breath. And I warn you, you're going to feel, as your diaphragm stretches open, you're going to feel this flush of oxygen go to your brain. A lot of people will feel lightheaded. After you're done, a lot of people even feel euphoric. And so if you're feeling tightness in your diaphragm, if you're unable to breathe with your tummy, what I recommend is start with a book, maybe 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, sit up, do the breathing. Hold the breath in, and then push your stomach out as much as you can. Do that 10 times. And then finally, do the stretch from downward dog to upward dog. And maybe just do that 3 or 4 times. And take a deep breath in, and then go into the upward dog position. By doing these 3 things, you'll open up your breathing mechanism. You'll find that you'll be able to breathe easier. And the amazing thing, the really cool thing, is that as this oxygen begins to infuse your body, the inflammation levels are going to go down. Your mood is going to improve. A lot of people say that all of a sudden they just feel more happy. Your body's going to alkalize. You know, oxygen is the enemy of inflammation. It's the enemy of cancer. It's the enemy of depression. And so as you oxygenate your home and you oxygenate your body, you're going to get to really feel what whole body health feels like.